Welcome back to another Coffee and a Chat. Today is a very special day because today I'm going to have my first guest ever on Coffee and a Chat. Are you ready? Here we go. Not what you expected. This is my dear friend Blacknose. Now, I was never creative with names as a child. My goldfish was Goldie. Yeah, my black dog was Blackie. And this was Blacknose because he used to have a black pom-pom for a nose. He used to have a little red tongue that hung out. He used to have all his fur and not all this mending that has taken place. He used to be softer. He's stuffed with foam, so it gets kind of older. It's not crunchy, at least. I'll give it that. But I have had this dog since my first birthday. My grandma Hopkins gave him to me, and he and I have been through, we've been through some stuff together. I cannot get rid of this dog. I cannot seem to let him go. I have been through some hard things. He has been bathed in so many tears, and he always was a good listener. Yeah. I remember when my granddaughter Shekinah was little, she was all mad about something and upset, and I think she was mad at her mom about something, and so I told her about my little dog and how I used to talk to him when I needed to say things that I was going to get in trouble for saying, and couldn't tell my mom what I really thought. And so she used to come and get him and borrow him, and then she would go into another room and you'd hear her in there just telling him everything. And then she'd come out and he'd be wet with her tears. And she'd go, "You're right, Grandma. It does make it a lot better." So with my letting go of things, this is just one piece of sentimentality that I still struggle with. And so I told Shekinah, when I die, I'll leave him to her because I can't think of any better place for him to go because she knows the joy of Blacknose. So this dog, I'm restarting this video because I started to do it without him, and then I realized he needs to be here with me. I was going to say, this is Marvin. Just to bug Marvin. I know he wasn't quite what you expected, or maybe he's exactly what some of you expected. No, this is my Blacknose, my little comfort teddy bear toy. He's a dog, not a bear. I had a teddy bear too. I think I did let him go. But, and his name's Teddy. It used to be Bear, and then my mom told him he needed a better name, so I named him Teddy. But anyway, I want to tell you about the day I got Blacknose. And this is a memory. I said it was my first birthday. Not many people have memories back like that. But sometimes something so significant can happen to where we will actually have a memory from a very young age that we would think we didn't. And I remember as an adult telling my mother this memory because there were a few things I didn't understand about it. And she was shocked that this was like a memory, my memory, not me remembering a story I'd been told over and over again. Like I could tell you all about my birth, but do I remember it? No. I sure hope not. But I know all the stories that I've heard. So I could tell you the story as if I was there. I mean, I was there, but like I actually remembered it. But this is an actual memory. And my mom quickly remembered, because we hadn't really talked about the story before or anything, and it hadn't seemed that significant to her, but she did remember enough to know what I was talking about. So in this memory, I'm like sitting at I can see this big table in front of me, and yet I'm sitting up kind of high for being a little kid, and because I didn't know how old I was. And I knew I was in the living room of our home because I could see the picture window in front of me, and I knew, I can remember feeling the warmth of the fire, so I was near the fireplace. And that just seemed odd to me because I don't remember us having a table in that room that I might be sitting at. And so my mom, she's like, okay, it wasn't a table. It was back in the 50s, 1950s. Yes, because that's when I was born, in the 1950s. The high chairs used to have these big trays that were like a table. And so to a little baby remembering it, it would look like a big table in front of me. And so I was sitting at the high chair, and my mom had put me, because I was born in December, and it was cold and drafty in the house, so she had set me near the fireplace to help keep me warm. And in this memory, I can see my older brother, who would have been 5 at the time, and my grandpa Hopkins in front of me, and they had black nose. And I can remember that I was crying and I was agitated and I was trying to get them to stop, but I didn't have words to express what I was feeling. That was another odd thing about that memory. Why wouldn't I have words? Well, because it was my first birthday and I didn't know very many words yet, but I knew how to say no and how to cry and throw a fit. They had taken this dog. My grandma Hopkins had just given him to me as a gift. Evidently, this is part of what my mom filled in. And so, as people often do, my older brother had run up and snatched him out of my hands, and that made me cry, and I didn't like that. And so then he got to want to tease me with it. Well, then pretty soon he and Grandpa Hopkins are playing catch back and forth and just enjoying teasing me. How often I can remember I had this giant stuffed Saint Bernard that had been won at the fair. My first husband, when he met me, we met at the fair, at the county fair, and he had won this giant dog. Actually, I think he just went back and paid them to give it to him, because whatever the thing was, the ring toss or whatever, he was terrible at it. And he won the dog when I wasn't there, and then brought it to me. So like I said, now that I know him like I know him, I'm pretty sure he just went and bought it and brought it to me and told me he won it. But he was trying to impress me. So that dog stood like, 4 foot high. It was one of those giant St. Bernards. And when my oldest daughter was like a year old, my brother-in-law, who was like what was he, maybe 14 at the time, a 14-year-old kid, he would take that dog and, go blah, 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 blah at her. And then she'd cry, and, and he thought it was so funny, and he'd tease her. We do things like that all the time. We tease little kids and babies, when a lot of times we're instilling fear in them, and it's really not a good thing to do. And that's a little bit what we're going to talk about. So my mom had said that they were tossing it back and forth, and I was pitching a fit because I wanted my dog back, and I thought they were hurting it. I remember that feeling in me that they were going to hurt it. Black Nose was real. It wasn't a stuffed dog. It was a real dog to me. And so my mom couldn't remember if it was her or Grandma Hopkins, but one of them had come into the room and made them stop and gave me my dog back and got them distracted with something else. So those were the fill-ins of the story of what I could, what I couldn't figure out. But I find it interesting that I would have the memory. And the only thing that I can say is that really traumatized me as a baby. It really did traumatize me. And that's why I can remember that. And I can remember that frustration and that feeling of helplessness and not being heard and listened to. And those are things that have definitely followed me in life. I said here a few videos ago, I talked about how 98% of everything of your belief system, how you feel about yourself, what you think, what you know, of the things you learn in life, 98% of that is all learned from birth to the age of 5. Children are learning a lot when they're little, putting a lot together. And so we don't necessarily have a lot of memories from that when we get older. Some people have no memories. And, Marvin's like, I can't even remember yesterday. Oh, I can't either. But I can remember a traumatic experience from when I was 1. And for whatever reason, Marvin and I had got into a discussion about this today. And I, as we were talking and sharing some things, I knew this is what I'm supposed to share with you today. The Bible tells us that children they're a gift from God. Now, granted, Marvin was also explained to me they don't always act like a gift, or that being a gift is short-lived. As soon as they can walk and talk, it becomes something else. But they are a gift, and they're a temporary gift. We don't get to keep them forever. We're supposed to, wasn't that yesterday when the chicks leave the nest? We're supposed to raise them up to be successful, responsible adults, and let them go out and spread their wings and fly. That's our job, not to keep them prisoner in the house forever. Although I know some women that actually they want to. They don't want their kids to leave. Oh yeah, go ahead and get married. Just, you can all live here. Yeah, go ahead and have babies. Just, you can all live here. I know this one particular woman, and her answer is, don't ever let any of them leave. Just get a bigger house. So yeah, I'm not sure. There is a time when for me, when I grew to appreciate my kids, going out of the nest and spreading their wings and flying, however that might end up looking or being. So when we have a gift from God, Marvin and I, I've said that we both believe that we're God's gift to each other, that God gave me Marvin as a gift. He gave me to Marvin as a gift, and that it's our job to continue to treat each other like gifts. So, all these years down the road, we don't fight. We're not mean to each other. We learn to laugh through things. We share our deepest feelings and emotion. I mean, we are best friends, and we are very equally yoked. And we try to honor each other as a precious gift that was given to us by the Lord. Well, that's what children are supposed to be too. But that's not always how they're treated, even down to teasing them in a way that causes fear, that traumatizes them. We think it's not traumatizing them. Well, they're not even going to remember. I mean, I think about all the things, even things I've said, it's just, we're just teasing. It's just funny right now. But it's not serious, and they'll never remember this. It's not going to have any lasting effect. And then here I am, a 60-some-year-old woman with a traumatic memory from her first birthday that's all about a stuffed animal. But to a 1-year-old, that was not a stuffed animal. That was something more to me. And, and I don't know, what all was motivating me, if I really thought it was something living, if it was because my grandma Hopkins gave them to me. I don't know. But I know that it traumatized me. So today I'm just wanting to just share with you the thought that sometimes we need to stop and think. There's even more than that. And this is what had started the discussion, was about different people we've known that when they've had babies, that they don't want you to hold them. They don't hold them, just, yeah. So one particular woman that was in my life, when she had her first baby, they had a terrible time getting pregnant. They could not get pregnant. They went through many, many years of being childless. And then a man, a visiting pastor, prayed for them, just called them out and said, have you been trusting the Lord, to get pregnant and not been able to? And they're like, yeah. And so he said, well, I'm going to pray for you because the Lord says he's going to give you a child. And so he prayed for them. They got pregnant and they gave birth to a child. Well, he prayed so good that 10 months later, they gave birth to a second child. And the first child, was a lot more work than what they had anticipated that child was going to be. And so they had this rule when the second one came, that we're not going to hold this child. We're going to teach it to be independent, because we're not going through that nightmare, because now we've got 2 babies at once, and the one always wants to be held and, and cries and everything. And if we don't hold this second one, it's going to help out. So they actually left that child a lot in their car seat. And so I already knew that was not healthy, that was not good, but you could not reason with them. They were tired, they were wore out, and now they had 2 babies and they didn't need double the trouble. So their minds were set. So what I did, you know what? You ever need a babysitter? Bring the girls over to me. I'll watch them, no problem. And so, well, yeah, they took me up on that. And so now my kids were older. They were already in school at this point. And so they would wait and we would all watch by the window. And I'm telling you, the second that mom and dad were out of sight and I knew they couldn't see us, we had that baby out of that car seat. We held her. We loved on her. We spent time with her. We talked to her. We held her while we fed her bottle because they would just prop the bottle up. That baby was not, when it was home, it was hardly ever held. So I did everything I could to give that baby the contact it needed because this is important. And there's a lot of things that when we're parents that we need to know when we become parents, but nobody tells us. And one of the things I know from the psychological aspect from when I was a counselor and classes I took and all. So there's this thing called attachment disorder. It's a very real thing. It's a very awful thing that happens with children who do not have a bonded parent. You see, when you were born with the need to be touched. Now, I know that they do a lot of this skin on skin when babies are born now, and even have the dads take their shirt off, put that baby so their skin's against his skin, and because they know that helps bond, and those babies need it. But I don't know if parents always know why or how important this is. But you were created to be held, to be touched, to be loved, to be, as a baby, to have somebody coo at you and baby talk to you and sing to you. And it's not dumbing it down. It's what babies need. They need that soothing. They respond in a more relaxed way to the higher pitched voice, which is usually mom. That's why we all go and it's our baby talking. Always our voice goes up. There's a reason we do that. It's in our DNA to talk baby talk to a baby. Because they need to hear that. They need to see that. They need to see your face. They need to see the smiles. I remember one of the first psychology classes I ever took. They showed this old reel-to-reel movie that was made from an experiment, if I remember right, in Russia, and where they had huge state orphanages. And so they did an experiment where they divided these babies. I think it was 100 babies, and they put 50 in one room and 50 in the other. Now, in the one room, when the nurses went in, they would smile at the babies. They would talk to them, do all those things that come natural. They would pick them up and hold them and rock them and feed them their bottles while holding them. They never propped a bottle or anything like that. They treated those babies the way a baby should be treated when they're at home. And and those babies, they thrived, they were happy, they were content, lower rates of colic and all of that. The other room, when the nurses went in, they were never to smile, just show nothing. They didn't frown or anything, just show no emotion. Try not to speak, and if you did, use a lower voice, more of your grown-up voice. They never held the babies. They always propped the bottles. They had as little contact with them when changing diapers, dressing them, anything. They didn't pick the babies up and cuddle them. They left them in their little bassinet crib, whatever that they were in, and kept that contact low. The majority of those babies died before they ever reached a year old. And it was, they would say failure to thrive. And then the ones that did live, they had all kinds of emotional problems, behavioral problems, that as babies, they had colic, they were fussy, they cried. Even when they would see the face of the nurse and they wouldn't give them any expression, it would cause those babies to cry. It was an awful film. I remember, I think I had to I watched it in one class. In another class they showed it there too. So I know I saw it at least twice. I hated watching that film when they would show you the reactions and stuff. Then the rest, with the extended study, was all textbook that they had written down. But we would watch this video and how you could see the difference in how those babies were developing, and they were not putting on weight like they should. They were not healthy. They were not vibrant. There was no glow to them. Even their skin didn't look as with that baby glow. No, those babies were depressed, and many of them died. And it's terrible that anybody would do experiments on babies as well, but there has been a lot of that over the years. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to know that if you are a parent or a grandparent of especially of birth through 5, of that young age, those children, their future, much of it is determined by the love and the security and nurturing that they get from birth to 5. How they feel about themselves, a lot of that is determined from the age of birth to 5. Do not prop a bottle with your baby. I know it may be more convenient to you. Do not set that child in front of a TV set or a videotape to entertain them, or put them on your device, your phone or your iPad or whatever you have, to let them play with that. Don't do that. I'm just going to tell you flat out, don't do that. That is for your convenience. That is to keep things nice and easy for you. But it is not good for that child. That child needs to be picked up. It needs to be held. It needs to be cuddled. It needs to be loved. It needs you to talk to it, do face-to-face time with it, to sing to them. That child, he or she, needs your attention, needs your love, needs your reassurance. I know that there's the whole baby wrapping thing. I mean, I didn't have that. We did have like Snugglies that, I know when I had my son, I had a Snuggly for him. I think I even had one for my second baby. I don't remember there even being anything like that when I had my first child. I mean, I can see at least you've got that child connected to you. They can hear your heartbeat. They can feel your warmth. There is a bonding that takes place, but you have to have that physical contact to make that bonding. Did you know that? Here's an experiment that I love, that I learned from psychology classes. So those of you that are married and you ever have that problem with your spouse and you guys get in an argument, and when you go to bed at night, that bed, it could be a single bed, but you can still be a mile apart. There's no way you're going to touch each other. You're staying as far apart as you can. You're not speaking. Things are not good. Okay. If you, and this works at night, so when your spouse drops off to sleep, if you just even put your foot over there, skin on skin, to where you're making a skin on skin contact with them, and maintain that for at least 20 minutes, you have probably a 99.9% chance that when they wake up in the morning, they're not even going to remember why they were mad at you or that they were, because it releases chemicals in the brain that actually starts helping you bond to each other and build strength in that relationship. When we're mad and we separate and no longer have that contact, it makes things worse. Why do you think your mom, she didn't even know what she was doing at the time, but when you had a fight with your brother or your sister and she's like, you two go hug it, you go hug it out. You hug each other until you quit being mad. Because if you maintain that contact for 20 minutes, it changes everything. It begins a good, healthy bonding with them, and forgiveness comes in and everything else. Physical touch, healthy, correct physical touching, appropriate physical touching is very important to our mental health at any age, but especially birth to 5. Yeah, I think that's probably the big message today is don't tease your child and drive them to frustration or fear, because you're creating something bad, not something good. Don't neglect touching, talking, holding, cuddling your child, because you're creating something bad, not something good. You see, when you become a parent, it's not about you anymore. We used to know that, but it seems like these new generations, everything's about convenience and moms working outside of the home. Mom, when I was coming up, oh no, moms did not work outside of the home unless they were doing it while the kids were in school. But even then, often they were home. They knew the value of mom being there for the kids. When dad came home at night, he didn't go out with the boy. He came home and he spent time with his kids. That used to be the family nucleus, how things operated. And whenever you had somebody had a dad in the home that wasn't like that, oh, you poor thing, that's terrible. Your dad doesn't, he went, what, he came home from work and had dinner and went bowling, or told you to, he's going to sit in front of that TV. I mean, there was that kind of stuff went on, but people saw that as not being a good thing. Oh, your mom works, huh? You know what, honey, it's okay. You can come over to my house after school and play with my kids. It'll be all right. I'll take care of you. It was not looked at as a good thing. A mom didn't work outside of the home unless she absolutely had to. And like I said, a lot of times they would try to schedule it around the kids' schedule, because if they're all at school, then okay. So I just think that maybe we need to rethink how we are with our kids, with our grandkids, because that is a gift that God's placed in our hands, a treasure that we're supposed to be a good steward of. Go back a few videos, and I talked about stewardship. We have a stewardship with our children, with our grandchildren, to sow into their lives. They're only there for a little while, and somebody who's already raised them and had them leave home, who already has grandkids that are grown, married, having kids of their own, I'll tell you, it goes a lot faster than what you think it's going to. And you might be cherishing a moment with them thinking they're going to remember, and they're not. You have to keep that consistent and see the gift God's given you, not the burden, because it's temporary. It's not forever. And yesterday's video was for a mama who's now got the first chick getting ready to leave that nest. It's hard. It's really hard. But I'll bet you if we sat her down today and said, hey, did this come a lot quicker than you thought it would? Did time move a little faster than you expected? I'm sure she'd be like, oh yeah. Because when we start getting up into those years and things start changing like that. I mean, now I'm this old woman and I don't know when that happened. It seems like just yesterday I was young and energetic and vibrant and raising my kids, and yet in reality, it was a lifetime ago. That part of my life, I remember when I first came to the realization that I would never have any more children, for real. I mean, I already had miracle babies, but for real, was never going to have any more children. And honestly, that was devastating to me, that part of my life, that chapter, it was closed. I didn't want it to be closed. I always wanted that hope of one more. You see, I originally wanted 12, but I married a guy that wanted 0. So I was lucky to get my 3. Lucky. I was blessed to get my 3. So when you look at those kids today, I hope that you will see those children as a blessing, not a burden. And you know what? You don't need to play that video game. You don't need to sit and talk on the phone for an hour with your girlfriend. Go enjoy your children. Go spend time with them, that you even have the opportunity to do that. Don't be focused on you want to go out, you need girls' time, you need guys' time. No. Moms, dads, love those kids. Spend time with them. Bond with them. Teach them the things they really need to know in life. Instill in them that they are loved. Because that is your responsibility with the gift that God has placed in your hand. So I hope you do it. And some of us, we're far, far away. We are thousands of miles away from our children, from our grandchildren, from our great-grandchildren, and we don't have the luxury of getting to see them all the time. I envy you with a godly envy that you have this opportunity to see your grandchild whenever you want, or to see your kids whenever you want, to be able to hug them, that, you know, to tuck them in at night, to have them come over and have dinner with you if they're grown, whatever. That is a blessing. So enjoy it for you and me. You know, I said the other night, Marvin and I had 3 of our kids sitting at our dinner table having dinner with us. 1 of mine, 2 of his, and all 3 of them just having a ball together, laughing and giggling and telling stories. And oh man, that was huge for us. That is something that is rare for us to have that joy. And so we soaked it all in. See the joy, see the blessing, and love them. It's your responsibility. All right. And with that, I'm going to say good day, because I've got a lot of things to do and I need to go put my buddy here back in his little place where I keep him. Do you think I'll ever be able to let him go? I don't know. Yeah, this is who I bonded to. Still am. All right, you guys, thank you. You know, yesterday's video, I had it as Ask Angie. And anytime you guys ask questions that or make a request for a video that I can do, I'm going to put it in a whole nother subdivision with those, as well as just the regular coffee and a chat, so they're easier to find. But I so enjoyed doing that. So if you've got something you want me to talk about, or you've got a question about something, and it might be something I can do a video on, my email is in the description of this video. Send me an email and let's chat and see if there isn't something from that. I so enjoyed doing that, and I'm thanking Kim for her request and sharing on that. And you know, I hope that that it was a blessing to her, and that maybe sometimes just knowing somebody else survived it can help us get through a lot. So other than that, subscribe, share, like, comment, and hit that notification bell. Man, it's a lot for me to remember. Oh well, whatever. I got to go do some work. I love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.